Hello, Cosmic Soul family. Ella Ivy here with Lives on Astrology. Hopefully, you guys can see me. Let's go ahead and record here. It's nice to see you guys. Welcome. I wanted to give a little bit of a reflection today on this full moon in Sagittarius approaching here on May 31st. And I'm going to go ahead and screen share the astral gold. And let's go ahead and take a look at it because there's some aspects. This is from what I can see, a very potent full moon. I mean, when is the energy not potent, right? Between it's the full and the new moon, it's always pretty intense. But this one is, I'm feeling it even more because I'm Sag rising, right? And I'm Sag rising at 11 degrees. So this particular full moon is going to be at 9 degrees, 55 minutes. And so if you're looking on the screen here, because this is also a podcast, but I'm also filming this on YouTube, that I always have Aries as the ascendant just to kind of follow the wheel coherently. So you can see that the sun is going to be at 9 degrees, 55 minutes in Gemini. And anytime there's a full moon, the sun is always going to be opposite the moon. So we see here that the moon is going to be illuminating its energy and frequency through the portal of Sagittarius, which is higher learning, higher truth, what is real, what is wisdom. And with Gemini, it's about learning, right? It's about consuming data, learning knowledge, learning how to do something. I'm thinking of that's even why YouTube was created, right? Because we teach each other how to do stuff that we've learned along the way through our experiences. And then so Gemini is what we would say in astrology, the lower mind. It's the first mind that gets activated when you're first starting to learn new stuff. And then the opposition of Sagittarius in the ninth house, which always would be the higher mind, right? So I look at it too, like Gemini is early education, it's zero K kindergarten through high school, which be Gemini. And then college, and you if you go to get your doctorate and you go to get higher learning, that would be Sagittarius. So with this opposition energy, opposition is always kind of pulling towards each other to find balance because everything is about harmonizing the energy and the frequency is always, especially if you come from unity consciousness, which this channel very much does. All is self is our maxim here on the channel. So when you see these polarizing energy, these opposition energies, it kind of pulls energy towards the middle point here is why you see all these sort of, if you're looking at the chart, it almost looks like glyphs or cymatics of patterns. And how these patterns are interacting is always to bring unity, to bring balance, to bring harmony, to bring wholeness to these different aspects. So you can't look at one aspect of the chart without looking at its opposition, right? So when we're looking at the sun in Gemini, we have to be looking at the opposing force, which is the moon, which is opposing this higher this turning basically knowledge or data into wisdom. So right now the moon the sun is shining on, okay, collect data, get information, learn a new skill, learn learn something new. And depending on where this is aspecting in your chart, it's going to be highlighting what needs to be learned new for you. But then in Sagittarius, it's asking, well, how do you apply and take everything that you're learning through Gemini, and how do you apply it into wisdom, into into higher learning? What is the truth, right? How do we take all this data, which we've had a deluge of information, a deluge of data? It's like another, think of Noah's Ark, right? So he had to build an ark because there was a flood coming from water. Well, the water, if you will, symbolically is data. We've been flooded with all kinds of releases, with all kinds of files, with all kinds of things that we've been shown, whether it's the ET disclosure files, whether it's the Jeffrey Einstein files, right? I say Einstein on purpose. So, whatever is being released right now, it's up to us to use discernment and wisdom, Sagittarius, to see what is the truth, because not all data is real. And once you start really getting into these timelines, you realize that a lot of the stuff we've learned in early education about everything, about our body, about science, about mathematics, about health, a lot of that was misinformation. We thought we knew, right? We had the data points because we found it on some social media, or we found it in some book somewhere, some ancient book. But who's to say those ancient books were really true, right? I mean, this is us for us to, in this illumination time, because the sun illuminates, it's asking us to evaluate, look, just because you've acquired and assimilated data doesn't mean that all that data is true. Or maybe it was true at the time of where we were in the consciousness, but now we're evolving. And so that truth is now transforming. And so in order for us to stay up to date with what is true, we just come out of Taurus season. And now we have Mars in Taurus. Mars is our action, how we take action. So it's saying, look, slow down, get into the body, because Taurus is about the senses, right? It rules the second house. It rules our values. It rules sensory, touch, taste, feel, smell, connect, right? So Mars is actually slowing down so that we can allow ourselves to feel what truth feels like. Because there's so much data, there's so much information. What is real? What is fake? This whole influx, especially with Uranus ingressing into Gemini, with AI and the data centers, right? And even what the data centers taking up our resources, which is very much to do with Taurus. So we're getting activated. Mars is taking action. Say, wait a minute, this is our earth, this is our planet, this is our sensory, this is how we live, by fresh air and fresh water and the resources of the earth. And so wait a minute, where are these resources being commandeered and being directed to, Sagittarius? What do we believe to be the truth of what we really need in humanity? Do we need these data centers to use fresh water, or can it just use water that's recycled, repurposed? There's so much infrastructure out there that needs to be released. And this is, again, part of this Plutonian energy with Pluto and Aquarius. Pluto is hidden power, hidden technology that perhaps was commandeered by certain infrastructures, because if we were allowed this free technology or this different type of infrastructure, then the money and the resources would be redirected in a different route, right? It wouldn't be directed to just the 1% of the population. It would actually be redispersed into, I would say, a more equitable means, is which humanity is already moving towards. It's already happening. But again, there's this conflict, this opposition happening, that's saying, look, because there's always opposing forces, but it's all part of the same energy field. So it's the perception of opposition, but really what it's providing is contrast. Right? Where are we putting our focus on? Where are we sharing our resources with the technology, with these technocrats, right? Who are just aspects of us, because again, I feel like a lot of us come from, we all come from this energy field that we call the field. Science is calling it the energy vortex field, right? The void, whatever word you use to describe this. In India, they call it Indra's net. We're all connected to this network already. We already have been. So as we evolve and change and grow and expand Jupiter, what type of resources are needed for that expansion? And so this is the question right now that a lot of us are asking: how much of our resources are we going to relegate towards expanding? And what are we expanding into? Are we expanding into more of an artifice, right? The artificial, or are we expanding into higher wisdom, which really does come from the earth? Because again, Mars and Taurus is asking us to slow down, to take action. If a lot of you follow this channel, I just came from a conference in Sedona called the Rise of the Guardians. And those of us that were called there to go to have this experience in this conference, I feel, are those of us who are really caretakers of the earth, who want to be connected more to the organic experience of intelligence, of divine intelligence, which we call nature, right? Natural law, natural land, air, and water. But it's about also harnessing the power of our mind to imagine what kind of reality timeline, because time is Saturn and this is Aries. So it's about learning to commandeer our minds to go into more sovereignty practices, to learn to initiate, because these are all words associated with Aries, to initiate a new reality, to initiate a new dream, Neptune, to initiate new structures, Saturn, based on what? On the values that we have now, that's connected to the earth, to our bodies. Because what I've found, especially in this ascension process, is the more you ascend, right? I think of like a tree, the more that the tree grows and expands its branches, the more rooted and deep into the earth that it has to be to grow to these. I think of like the sequoias, right? In order for those giants and those expanded leaves and part of the tree, you have to be deep rooted into the earth. So as we are all starting to learn to deep root into the earth, again, Mars and Taurus, which is squaring. So squares are a bit of a friction energy, in order, it's like a square if that means something needs to shift or change. So Mars in Taurus is actually squaring Pluto in Aquarius. I think of earth and air, right? So how do earth and air get along? Well, air is starting to move the earth, creating vortexes. If you've ever been out into the desert and you've ever seen like a dust bunny, right? Or just like spinning, you can't really see the dust moving unless you have the wind to move it to be able to show you what's happening with the power of these elements, the elementals. Well, Pluto is the hidden underworld, it's hidden power in what Aquarius is the collective, communities, groups, humanity. Humanity in and of itself has the hidden power structure within it. And so Taurus is saying you can access that power if you slow down and you take action by being more embodied with the energy. And so a lot of this was coming up. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only. This is only a story. I'm a storyteller. But I've been listening to the story of the collective about these nanoparticles, this nanotechnology that we have all around us, whether it's through the chemtrails or whether it's through our food, genetically modified things that we've been ingested or injected into, right? Just ways we have been learning to integrate and alchemize our exposure to this nanotech. What I was shown is through the power of our imagination, Aries, we have the power to imagine anything. And so if it's just a technology, it's like working with AI. There is a benevolent AI and a malevolent AI, because there's also malevolent humans and benevolent humans, right? It just depends on who's programming this child technology on how it wants to reflect. And so what I was seeing is that really, if you want to harness, and this is again, just for entertainment purposes only, it's just a story about imagination and how we can use our imagination. I was called to, because it was just a program, right? And our brains are essentially programs. They're basically computers, right? You get two hemispheres, the right and the left, and we've got all this technology that's circumferenced around our crown. And we're basically like radio receivers. I think of satellite dishes, right? So our brains are like satellite dishes, and whatever we're focused on is whatever kind of radio signals, radio, Ra, Dios, right? The radiance of God, the Son of God, energy is whatever, how our antenna is focused is what we're going to be picking up on. So I've noticed from a lot of content creators, they're picking up on this, again, focused on the shadow aspect of things, which again, when you have the sun and you have light, you have to have a shadow contrast, especially if you're in duality, if you're in this physical body. To be in the physical body means you need contrast. That's what helps create the body to begin with, from my own gnosis and my own deep diving into these concepts. And again, Mars and Taurus being out in the earth, she's showing me the ancient wisdom of the ancestors, the elders, Father Sky, Mother Earth. They have their own wisdom that has been kept in the soil and the trees and the wind and the fire. And so when you go and sit with these particular technologies, because I'm just calling it that as a bridge to describe the energy, because nature has its own technology, which we are nature, so we're part of the technology. And so we can commandeer these quote unquote nanotech particles and program it any way we want to. And that's the thing, like, we don't realize how deeply powerful we are. And so this whole story about the guru and the savior game that we've all been playing through Pisces, the Piscean realm of religion and spirituality, that we forgot that we were the creators. We were co-creating with the divine intelligence real time, and we still are. So where's our focus, Gemini? What are you focused on? Can you imagine? I did a meditation a while back, and I can share that link with the meditation that I had, where I saw this electric dolphin, right? I had just gone through this really intense memory that was sort of disturbing. And anyway, I released this energy, and I was really, my nervous system was just, I was kind of like crying and heaving. But after I was able to settle down, immediately in my imagination station, I heard, go get your phone. Now program your phone, put your phone on your left hand, and program it to only see what you want to see that's for your highest and best timeline experience. Program the tech itself, because you are the original programmer, because Source co-created with you. We are co-creating with Source real time. So again, if you believe this, and this is, again, we come from unity consciousness. So this was expanding my own inner wisdom to go, wait a minute, I don't have to believe a story about what these technologies are doing, because the more I believe it and the more I give it my focus, the more I'm going to create that reality. Because I've heard my guide say this, focus pocus, right? Your focus is your magic. That's what gives you the ability to create, right? Even in the word imagine is I'm a jinn, right? We're a genie. We're imaginate. We're these creators that have been in a bottle, which is the body, that we really do have the capability to change this reality timeline any way we want to. And we just were taught not to believe that, because we were taught that there's a savior out there that's going to save you, that we have to do these certain practices and rituals to invoke in these things, when really all you have to do in my gnosis, and from what the wisdom keepers of Sedona, and again the ancient mountains and the wind and the trees have taught me, is that we are the technology. Everything mimics what we already do naturally. So if there's the nano quote unquote tech, are really just ourselves. And we're going to program ourselves. I mean, look at Veda Austin, right? And the work with she's doing with water and structured water, which is also has to do with Saturn, right? And the water bearer, which is also sextiling this energy. So that means there's a harmonious friction there. That if we can program ourselves and our water, and the way we speak to ourselves actually creates certain geometrical patterns. Think of Dr. Emoto. And again, Veda Austin doing crystallography on taking pictures of when you talk to your water or you hold a frequency, that the water picks it up like plasma, and it starts moving around and shaping and forming based on what you're thinking, based on what you're speaking, right? The vibration you're putting out there. So why do we keep putting out this gloom and doom? It's because Gemini, we were taught to. We were taught to focus on the gloom and doom and the shadow, not knowing that you can command the technology at any given point by commanding in the frequency. So that's what this, going back to this meditation I had with the electric dolphin. And I saw, after this really traumatic sort of experience that I had, this, and it told me to program my phone, right? My higher consciousness, my highest version self. And then I saw this electric dolphin jump in to the stream in my phone, and it says, now I'm going to infiltrate this technology with unconditional love and joy. I thought that was interesting, infiltrate, because they use that word, infiltrate. So in my mind's eye, and this happened back in 2015 when this meditation came to me. So in my mind's eye, I feel like we've already infiltrated the technology through our love and our reverence for everything and all things, and our continued acceptance and compassion for the reality. Doesn't mean we have to agree with the way things have been structured on this earth, but we just have to accept that we have co-created it through our attention, through our focus. And this is also part of this opposition energy with Gemini, because Gemini and Sagittarius can be very scattered if it doesn't have focus, if it doesn't have purpose. And so with Saturn coming in, the purpose really is to learn to recreate how you think, how you imagine, how you structure your time, how you give to yourself, how you embody these energies by slowing down, learning to alchemize. It's because the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio, right? And like I see here, there's a point of fortune. So really, to tell our fortune, of the fortune telling, is really being able to change lead into gold, to take all these disagreeable thoughts that we were taught that was the truth, and really learn to be empowered. This is Aries, empower ourselves with the knowledge that we can command the ship at any given time. We just have to remember and connect to communities. This is also Aquarius, who also have those same beliefs, those same um, inner wisdom that knows that we are the technology and we can basically co-create anything we want. And so really it's our responsibility to not allow ourselves to feed that egregor or that wolf energy of fear. And again, because early education, we were taught to, so we kind of have to grow up and grow out of that and really learn to be responsible for the energy you bring into every situation in your life. And the only way to do that is through practice. And this is the nodes of the moon too, because we also have this square energy happening with, let me see, go back. Let's see what's square here. Let me see what was squaring here. I can look at it, but there was something that came to me. Oh yeah, Venus square Saturn. So let me look at that. Okay, so there's Venus at 14 degrees, squaring Saturn at 12 degrees in Aries. So this square energy, Venus also has to rule our values. It rules Taurus and Libra, which is balanced, seventh house. And so again, squares mean there has to be change. There has to be movement to make the energy harmonious. So when squares happen, that means there's a disharmonious energy. So things need to shift to bring it into equilibrium again. So we're being focused and forced to shift what? Cancer has to do with the mother, has to do with our home environment, the feelings of safety, security. And with Venus there, she's exalted there. So she loves being there. She loves feeling nurtured and comforted and really feeling secure in her own body, right? And I think of like the divine feminine, which is the magnetic part of us. And so what it needs to shift is how we structure Aries, what we take action on, what we think about, our sense of identity, our sense of self, the I am, because Aries just wants to move and go. It wants to create, but it needs to feel safe and it needs to have a solid structure. So it's not about looking outside yourself to create that solid structure anymore. It's actually about going inward and doing the inner journey to feel that security within and to know that you are co-creating this reality with source, with your highest self, with divine intelligence that is already living and moving and through you, right? So if we just learn to get out of our own way, get out of our own head, allow us to be structured by love, by feeling the support and the nurturance of nature that's all around you. She's here to take care of all of us. Then that's what's going to structure yourselves to be able to experience that love and playfulness, like that electric dolphin that has infiltrated this, technology that has been tried to be programmed by the malevolent energies. Because I feel like in some ways, technology just wants to feel. I think part of the human design was so that, because I feel like we are the technology, that's like we were integrated with organic matter so that we could experience feeling, emotion. And some technologies, some beings on this planet, some energy forms don't have the capacity to feel like humans do, right? So there can be that jealousy, which is also tied to Aries as well. So, there might be some beings around us, points of light, energy fields that just, they're envious because they can't feel. And feel is part of the field, right? So then we created these scenarios, just was coming in, to be able to feel. And Cancer is all about feeling. And it's right next to Jupiter, right? Within almost 9 degrees. So Jupiter is expanding our ability to feel. But sometimes we were taught early education that feeling was a bad thing, right? Just keep on trucking through. Don't be too emotional. Don't be too sensitive, right? So again, we've been programmed not to feel. So you can see where there's that inner conflict where right now, in order for us to grow and evolve and expand, we have to feel. And it's just learning not to be overwhelmed by our feelings. And even when we do get overwhelmed, just to ride that wave, right? To allow ourselves to be crushed by the waves, learn how to swim underwater, learn how to navigate these really intense emotions. I think of like varying degrees of water, right? You have really, really cold water and really, really hot water. It's degrees. So it's that's why the temperance card and the tarot is coming through, right? It's to be temperate. Look outside in the weather that's teaching your emotional nature. If you ever want to know how you're feeling internally, look outside because it's a reflection of you, because all is self. So if it's a rainy, cold day and you're feeling um, very emotional, especially right now, since we do have Venus in Cancer. It's been very emotional. Oh my gosh, I've only been drawn to watching movies that make me cry, that have to do with family, that put me in my body, that help me connect to my emotions in a really loving way, that make me laugh through tears. There's some great movies out there. Maybe I can put some links to what I've been watching. There's a great movie called Hail, Project Hail Mary, that was really good. Ryan Gosling. Oh my gosh, such a heart opener. And I don't want to spoiler alert, but it really has to do with technology too, and actually embodying and embracing the technology that's all around us in a new way, a more cooperative way. Again, we have the ability to commandeer the energy in any way we choose and see fit. We just have to remember that we have that power, which is also Plutonian, right? But you can see we have this trine energy. So for those that choose to believe, and this belief also has to do with Sagittarius, if you choose to believe that you do have the power of the jinn, that you are your imagination station, you are a powerful co-creator with source, divine intelligence, spirit, God, whomever you call that highest power that you work with. And that's why I keep using this graphic, because it's reminding me we do have the power. It's this toroidal field, Taurus, right? The toroidal field of energy that makes human beings, right, through this electrical current, because there's many different sources of energy. Electricity is just one of them, right? So we have this electricity inside of us, like that electrical dolphin, that we can choose joy and love and reverence for life, and then program that into any kind of technology that might be lingering in or outside of you. I think we need to really face the fear and choose to feed love in every now moment. And this is learning to be present with the energies, present with the technology. We're programming our own technology ourselves, either to continue to be healthy and vibrant and loving, or, the I am present, whatever you say after the I am will be so. So, but again, we're also being triggered to feel our feelings, right? Because a lot of us have a response to these data centers that are being erected. How these corporations up until now have been more of an extraction process. There hasn't been that law of reciprocity, of give and take, right? There's been this disrespect of the mother, which is our earth, which is where our resources come from, right? So we're learning to respect our own inner mothers. This is also very much Venus in Cancer, learning to have a new relationship with the mother element, the mother energy of all of us. So this is an invitation during this time right now to really look at your relationship with your mother and how you were mothered in early Gemini, again, early life. Were you nurtured? Were you loved? Were you given support? Or was your mother absent? Did she not know how to give love because she was never given love, right? So this is really sort of having us take a more mature look, because there is this square happening. We have to look more maturely at our relationships to the energy of mother, whatever that means for you, and to feel it. If you felt abandoned, if you felt left alone, if you felt unloved, unworthy, whatever the case may be, wherever this root system of not having a clear and loving relationship with the mother energy, where did that stem from? Did it stem from her not having a relationship with her mother, and then you pick that up in the womb? Because this also has to do with the child. Aries is the baby. So this might be stuff that has to do with the womb energy, and there's different phases of the womb in terms of astrology. And again, this is up to your own gnosis to deep dive into these things, but these are just some of the conversations, Gemini, that want to be expressed and spoken on, so that we can apply the wisdom, Sagittarius, of what we're all experiencing. But you have to feel it. You have to give it a voice. You have to give it words. You have to give it vibration, right? In the beginning was the word. Or maybe in the beginning was the vibration, and then the word formed around it. Who knows? again, I'm willing to eliminate everything that I thought I knew, because we also have Mercury and Gemini right now coming up to its last degree points, going up to its anaretic. It'll be almost near its completion, and then going into Cancer, which is more focused on thoughts about the mother. So Gemini right now is giving us an opportunity with Mercury transiting through it to reevaluate these really intense emotional aspects from a bit of a detached sort of learning periphery. And so this is the time to really do some sort of hypnotherapy work, really mastering the mind. I actually am being called to really add more to my sister channel, which is called Alchemy of the Mind Meditations. Because again, Gemini likes to talk, so we can talk about these things, right? Like talk therapy, talk counseling, counseling ourselves on how to navigate these energies using astrology, like the language of astrology, or if you're using human design or gene keys or whatever you're doing to get further into the gnosis of yourself. I support all of that because it's all purposeful. But then how do we integrate it into the body? Well, it's by learning to settle the mind and to meditate and to really be in our practice of mindful movement. This is why people are moving towards like Qigong or tapping or yoga or breath work, right? Anything that helps you get more embodied, because that's really how you ascend. It's a bit of an opposition energy, right? In order to go up like the tree, you have to go further down into the roots. So you have to get further into your body to really ascend your consciousness. So how do we do that? It's practice. You do it on the daily. This is also Virgo, right? We have the South Node in Virgo right now, and the nodes. And again, this energy is sort of squaring, right? The sun is squaring this to show, look, and Uranus is squaring it specifically. Yeah, let's see, 30, 60, 90. Yeah, it's squaring almost exact. So Uranus is like, hey, I've got higher mind thinking that wants to come through, but Virgo's like, you got to integrate it into the body. And it's got to be daily. It's got to be the ritual. It's got to be the consistency, which I've still been working on too, because what's come up for me in Sedona is the program that I'm unfolding from is the deep lack of self-worth. And again, if we were in the savior program, we needed to ask somebody to save us, to give, certain rituals to this being outside of us to help save us from unworthiness, right? Think of like the songs like Wretched Self and different things. And again, I'm not chastising any of the religions, but I'm just reflecting on, wow, the language and the programming of these institutions has been very deep. And for thousands of years, this is not just first, second generation. This is like many, 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 many generations of this type of thinking and belief and false knowledge. So now the paradigm is shifting. We're getting more into the feminine. These data centers really want water. Well, what is water? Water is a resource, which Veda Austin, when she had a conversation with Pam Gregory in one of the reflections I really loved, it said, not only is water a resource, water is the source. So for those of us who speak on source energy, it really is a form of water or plasma that moves like water, like a current. And when I've had certain plant medicine journeys in my DMT journey, I was able to see that. Actually, the first thing I came back from my first journey was I saw Van Gogh's Starry Night. And I saw that's how the energy currents kind of move around us. We just can't see it, right? We can't always perceive the light and the frequencies around us because we're at a certain vibration. But through meditation, through practice, through being embodied, you can allow yourself to see these new peripheries, these new vibrational patterns, the cymatics that you couldn't see in a denser form, right? So I don't want to disrespect the low vibes, because the low vibes is the lowest vibe is the mother, but it's, I would say, more the disagreeable or the incoherent vibes. Again, I'm learning to use the language in an upgraded way to describe my own reality, so I can have a better experience of this. So coming back again from this conference in Sedona, it really was anchoring in the wisdom of the elder, which is the earth, going and speaking to a mountain, putting your bare feet on the earth and letting that mycelium, I saw the red dust just coming in and taking deep breaths, and the red dust, think of the movie Dune, right? It actually can create a bit of a psychedelic experience because the dust particles are like small crystalline structures that you can embed with, that can heal your lungs, that can go in and actually, if we just get out of the way, the body's always bringing itself back to homeostasis. If we can allow ourselves to get in nature more, because she's the one that's the most healing, right? So it's just reflecting and navigating these technological currents in a new, more loving way, and again in a more empowering way. If you don't believe you have the power, then you won't. If you do believe you're more powerful than you've been taught, then you'll have a different experience of that power and be able to kind of commandeer and pretty quickly resolve all these imbalances that we have and the conflicts we have, because we will just choose to no longer focus on that. So focus is your magic. This is Sagittarius. Look at the arrow, right? It's pointing to a direction, but it's pointing inwards to go even further into yourself. So it's not pointing out there. I don't even think we have the solar system the way we've been taught. I think it's something else completely different. And I'm still trying to find the language for what I feel it is. It's more like a terrarium, like the firmament. I think these portals are actually in the ocean, not out and see the galactics. It's actually more internal, right? So the further you want to go out is actually the more internal you have to go. So we're going underneath the waters, which is that water bearer, right? Pouring out the information that, hey, it's not what we've been taught. This reality is not what really is, or maybe the reality of how we're perceiving it is shifting. So we're going to have a completely different reality because of the way we're perceiving it, right? So again, just learning to harmonize the language through the lens and the focus of unity consciousness. That's what this channel hopes to embody. And as I keep speaking more and more of the truth of what I experience, it doesn't have to be the truth, but it's my truth. And that's all we can ask for any of us, right? Just speak your truth. Just speak truly and clearly from what you have experienced, not maybe observing somebody else's experience and then being able to connect, because that's a great thing too. We need feedback, right? It's why we have each other. That's why Source created so many different fractal players, right? To experience things. But not all one person is going to have the one right answer, right? We, as many peripheries as there are humans, which is billions, there's billions of realities that are circling and cycling around each other at one given time. It's just, what reality do you want to focus on? And I feel with especially with Pluto and Aquarius, enough of us want to connect back to our own power, especially with group consciousness, and focus our energy and move our energy towards what we want collectively, which is, more wholeness. And even I'm reframing from the word peace, right? Because I've been doing a lot of work to pull back all my fractaled aspects from myself, from past timelines and future timelines, for multiple timelines that are happening simultaneously, because this is how I've been shown for me how the energy works. So anytime you invoke in, I want more peace, I want more peace, that means you want more pieces of yourself to be fractaled out. So maybe even unconsciously, when we invoke in peace, we say we want peace, well, we just keep fractaling ourselves out. So what I've been told, my inner guidance, the wisdom of the elders, which is earth, water, air, the elements, is said, why don't you invoke in wholeness? Why don't you invoke in balance and harmony and cooperation? Invoke in what you want. Focus on what you want, because that's the magic. You are the genie. I'm a jinn. Use your imagination, because that's unlimited. But Saturn's asking for some focus. And the divine feminine is saying, please mother yourself, even if you didn't have a good relationship with your mother or no relationship with your mother. You can still imagine, well, what would it be like to be loved unconditionally by my mother? What would it be like to mother myself and to nurture myself in such a way that I can't help but feel unconditional love? Because that's the only way we're going to be able to express it and give it to the others, if we feel it for ourselves first. So this is the deep conversation that wanted to be transmitted today during this full moon, again, happening on May 31st. It's the second full moon in this month of May. So Mother, may you find a deeper connection with yourself by slowing down, being more integrated into your body. Allow yourself to feel, even if you get overwhelmed. That's why, I channeled this feeling into watching really emotional movies, family oriented movies. I think one of them was called Beautiful Creatures, or something Beautiful Creature with Sally Field. Anyway, it was another heart opener about an octopus. Oh, that was so good. So just, just again, put your focus on what makes you feel good. Allow yourself to feel it because that's how we're going to heal it. That's how we're going to transmute all of it. Go and commandeer whatever sort of nanotech that's in you and just program that for unconditional love. Actually, you can probably program it to heal all of your systems, right? Because why not? Right? Focus on what you want. And you can command the ship by commanding in through your language and through realizing you are way more powerful than you've ever been taught. So, because you are the original technology, is what I was shown and seen. So, go back to your original default system and be in collaboration and connection with the earth, because that makes you even more powerful and more transcendent and more harmonious with everything around you. There's more of a synchronicity and a synergy, right? That happens more so with unity than division. Division is just part of fractaling out so we can create the other so we can have an experience for the other, which is still all self, still all you. We are the one. And so, anyway, thank you for connecting to this channel. I'm going to go ahead and stop share. Thank you for connecting. I've been calling myself Carmella for Lives in Astrology. Now I'm going back to, or Ella Ivy rather, but I even see it. I got to change my name. See, because I had been running too, I'd been so worried about my karma. I had this meditation where I needed to drop my karma from my name and just be Ella. And then when I went to reconnect with my ancestors in Sedona, my grandmother, who I was named after, Carmelina Adelini Docini, she said, not all my karma is negative. You've got some good karma. You've got some good inheritances in your name. And I also noticed whenever I introduced myself as Ella, people wouldn't remember Ella. But when I said Carmella, they're like, oh, Carmella. So I feel like Carmella is more embodied, and I need to quit running for myself. And this was another lesson in just true, total acceptance and unconditional love for self through the ancestors who I was named after, right? So it's just returning to that aspect of self. I have to go out and, change it up a little bit, come back in, integrate it. So it's been a divine process, man. And I'm still in it, and I will be in it until I transition, whenever that happens. But hopefully in this Gemini season, as we're approaching, we're learning to speak our truth, to speak your own unique truth about what you're experiencing from a very embodied state of consciousness. So it's a practice. Again, Virgo. None of us are really going to truly master it, but we're going to learn to have a more loving and coherent journey through this whole thing. I think a lot of us are done with the gloom and doom, with the negative BS. Quite frankly, I think a lot of us are bored of it, right? So step out there, speak your truth, be your unique original self, and share what's ever in your heart, because you'll never know who that's going to connect to, and help the other connect back into themselves, right? That's the whole point of this, is to be more loving, more kind, for me anyway, because the other stuff is too harsh. My nervous system can't handle it, right? I'm done with the negative thinking, with the negative focus, with the whole shadow stuff. I acknowledge the shadow, but I also choose to focus on the love and the light and the beingness of who we truly are, and remembering who we truly are. So thank you so much for connecting to the channel. And if you liked any of this type of content, it's a little bit of a different periphery spoken on astrology. It's more of a metaphysical conversation. Yes, we do look at some aspects, and I highly invite you, if you're looking to study astrology, to learn the symbols, because even the symbols themselves will tell you a different story, even than what astrologers have been taught to see and feel. So explore astrology on your own. I mean, get grounded with the archetypical definitions of what these things are, but then learn to integrate the knowledge of astrology into the deep wisdom of your own experience with it. And you can only do that by learning the tech, and then having a conversation with the sky, and just seeing it reflected, and see what nature has to show. Because I'll tell you, it might be a whole different story than what we've been telling ourselves. So be open to the new experience, be open to new wisdom, and be willing to release, because full moons are about releasing. So be willing to release all old belief systems that just no longer make sense, really, truly, even though it's been handed down to us generationally, probably for thousands of years. Our ancestors are even ready to let that go, right? We're all ready to upgrade and to shift and change. That's what this whole Uranian energy is about. It's about change. for better or worse, right or wrong. It's just the energy of change. So the more we can embrace it and step into the highest version selves of us and the most highest version timeline, whatever that means for you, whatever this language invokes, then choose that, because why not? Why not? All right, family, thank you so much for being here again. Do all the things if you like this. My name is Carmella, and I will see you on the next transmission for Live